Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. Today we're going to talk to you about key chord charts. Okay, now you're going to find these, like, you can download them for free, like off Google. Just, go to Google, type in your search, guitar key chord chart, and click on images. You're going to find a lot of them up there. Okay, and they're not all the same, even if they do have majors, minors, and flats. There's going to be discrepancies. Okay. For example, in the key of G on the one chart I have in front of me on the screen, it says that in the key of G I have G, C, and D as my principal major chords, and for my minors I have A minor, B minor, E minor, and F sharp diminished, which no beginner knows F sharp diminished anyways. However, not to fret, on another chart I have in the key of G, it says G, C, D7, E minor, A minor, and B7. And it's like, that doesn't make sense, right? I totally get you, right? And the difference between a B minor and a B minor 7 is quite a change. So if you look at your B minor chord, okay, that's a B minor, right? But then a B7, that's a big jump in voicings between the two chords. Yet one says B minor, the other one says B7. And I'm like, oh, yeah, am I right? Yes, I'm right. Sorry, thought I looked at the wrong thing. I'm kind of leaning over because I got a smaller chord chart in front of me, and it's kind of like, ah! So, but you're going to find a lot of discrepancies out there with your major keys, especially where, this one chord chart's got total of 7 chords in each major key. And the same for the minor keys, it's got 7 chords right across. And it's like, I don't recognize that. You know what I mean? My other chord chart that I have, which is a basic chart, now let me just grab this thing. This comes on one of these chord charts. This is for left-handed guitar, but they have a right-handed version as well. And on the back, it gives you principal chords, relative minors that are used in each key. Okay, these are common chords. But that's a discrepancy or a change from the chart up there. So if we look at the key of A, for example, it says A, B minor, C sharp minor, D, E, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished. So the key of A here says A, D, E7 as the principals. Our relative minors are F sharp minor, B minor, and C sharp 7. Okay, it's like, okay, that's not making sense either, because there's a big difference between a C sharp 7 chord and a C sharp minor chord, okay, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so, but don't freak out. Just download a bunch of chord charts that are relative to majors, minors, and flats, even in your flat. Okay, a key of A flat, for example, okay, because this chart here in my hand, it has key of F sharp, key of B flat, key of E flat, A flat, D flat. So in say like the key of A flat, they have A flat, D flat, E flat 7, F minor, B flat minor, and G7. I'm like, okay. Now here's the thing: you don't ever use all 5, all 6, or even 4 of these chords. And in fact, a lot of cases, you would only be using principal major chords in a key, and you wouldn't be using any minors, but you might get a 7th thrown in there. But you can sometimes substitute a 7th chord for a major chord, okay? So in the case of a song, particularly like Proud Mary, okay? Now that's the main body of the song is only G, D, and D minor, okay? But you can use the D7, okay? You can use the D7 in place, right? Because your one chord chart says D7, doesn't say D. Now, the difference between a D and a D7, and you only play it on 3 strings normally for the D. That's a huge difference, right? But when you're playing and singing the song, like, it's kind of a, it doesn't always make sense, but the D does. So you can hear a tonal difference. Now, that's not played exactly as played, but you get the idea, right? So you can pull chords from other keys to make a song work, because your lyrics in your song actually do dictate a huge portion of what chord or chords are used within a particular key in a song. So you can still have a song in the key of G, for example, okay? And that's going to be like basically in G, you're going to have G, C, D, or G, C, D7, whatever, okay? But let's say just G, C, D, because that's a very common key of G, right? Now, you may only use those 3 chords, but you have alternate changing times. You can actually throw in chords from other keys that can work. Now, you will find an A minor and E minor definitely being used in the key of G as a common thing. And the B minor would also take place in there as well. It kind of depends on what the lyrics are. But you would be able to use a majority of those chords, yes. But sometimes you got to pull another chord out, right? So let's try something a little different. So I threw in an F. Where did I pull that F from, though? That F was pulled either from the key of C, or it could have been pulled from the key of D minor. It kind of depended on which one I pulled it from, but it doesn't matter. I threw in an F, period. I needed that F chord for a portion of the lyrics, or maybe it was for one word, but I needed it. Like the song Forever by Chris Tomlin, I have it in the key of A flat, so for that I would just throw my capo on to make life simple and easier, okay, so I don't have to worry about all those flat chords and extra, right? So you can kind of, it's not cheating, but it's doing it the same but different. You're still playing the same chords, just a different formation, using more basic forms that you're used to already, so you can play a more advanced song, okay? So for that, this becomes G is G sharp, which is A flat. But I can add a D, add F sharp on there. Now the formation is a D add F sharp, but I'm actually, I'm not playing D add F sharp, okay? So I'm playing actually a D sharp add G, okay? So there's a difference there. And if I swoop it up to the key of A, that D chord is now an E chord, okay? Okay, and then I look at where my thumb placement is here. This is going to be G, G sharp. So I'm going to add a G sharp with a D, which is now E add G sharp. So you can experiment, you can do a lot of different stuff and not have to worry too much, right? I add in a lot of the because I also want to punch through the mix, but I want to add a little bit of accent onto the song. You'll learn as a guitar player your place on where you can actually add those little accents and punch throughs, and where you absolutely shouldn't do it, because it's going to be bad, okay? But you'll learn, okay? But don't worry about guitar chord charts. Just download a lot of these key charts and work with them. They're not wrong, but they're not all correct, in other words, okay? So, I mean, majors and minors are generally pretty on touch for the most part. But the 7th chord they list in all the major and minor keys on the chart I have never come across G sharp diminished, A sharp diminished, B diminished, C sharp diminished, D sharp diminished, E diminished, or F sharp diminished. I've never run across those particular chords in any key signature yet of my major keys, okay? Yet. Doesn't mean they're not going to happen. It's just that I haven't found a piece of music yet in all my years playing where any of those diminished chords were ever used in any of those major keys. Okay, so, and when you look at the minor keys, you do get diminished chords in there, but whether or not you're going to be using them or not kind of depends upon the song. And you're not going to know diminished chords as a beginner player anyways. When you're an intermediate player, you do tend to learn a lot of suspended and augmented chords, like a lot of them. You'll learn a lot of your diminished chords, sevenths diminished and so on. You'll learn that more as an intermediate, not as a beginner. As a beginner, I would suggest stay with your major keys and some of your minor keys, like some of them, but unless there's a diminished chord in a minor key, don't worry about it. You don't need that chord, right? And be very mindful that you're not playing all the chords within a key. You might be playing 3 of those. There are 2 chord songs as well that are in a key of G, F, E, A, B, C, D, right? There are 2 chord songs that are in each key. So that exists. They're not a ton load, but there are some, right? But the majority is your like 3 chords, 4 chords. Very common. Once in a while you might hit a 5th chord, but that 5th chord, even maybe the 3rd chord, might not be part of that actual key signature, but it needs to be in there for the lyrics to work correctly. And with the song and the type of song you're playing, you do have to pull chords from other keys to make things work. And that is quite common. Like even in the song Forever, I have an E minor 7 that they list. Now, the E minor 7 is only a 1-finger chord on the 2nd fret of the A string, and it just sounds like this. Now, when you bump it up a notch, it kind of doesn't sound right, but the song is in the key of A flat, so then you just simply put on your capo, and now that chord is now changed. It's gone up a half step. And E automatically turns into an F. So, but you still see E minor 7 on your sheet. You don't see an F, right? So, of any type. But you are a semitone up. And E does not have any sharps. Okay? B does not have any sharps. So you've got 2 chords right there that have absolutely no sharps whatsoever. Okay? Now there is an E flat. Yes. There's definitely an E flat, right? And there's definitely a B flat, which, when you think about it, this is B flat. There's a 3-finger chord. And this is B. And you can tell that from here. This is A, B, B flat. Okay, so they're the same chords, different spots, and both being played as a 3-fingered power chord. Now, these are also called fifths, right? So you play like a B5, or in this case a B flat 5, or a B5. So B flat 5, B5, B5, B flat 5, because A sharp is B flat. So, but the B, to going to the next one, B does not have a sharp, okay? So that's why it goes from B to C, and you go E to F automatically, okay? Because E doesn't have a sharp either. But they both do have flats, okay? But when you go backwards, it's a sharp chord, but it's also a flat chord at the same time, because it's the flat of the one in front. So that's a lot of extra for you on that one. But you get the idea, hopefully. So download some charts now that you've gone through, the first 9 lessons here, and we do have major chords and minor chords for you already on the channel, on the playlist, so check out the playlist. That opens you up just in your major keys and minor keys to literally thousands and thousands of songs. Once you have those chords under control, you've got thousands and thousands of songs you can actually play. Okay, you just got to learn how to do the strumming patterns, the rhythms. For that you have to learn your timing, time signatures for those. A lot of your modern day mainstream music over the last 20 years or so, 30 years. Most of that's been all 4/4 timing, so it's pretty easy time signature. But time signatures can get a little funky too in different genres, because let's say you have a song that's at 119 beats a minute, 4/4 timing, basic strumming pattern, down up. So that's about 119 beats per minute, give or take, right? So, and it's 4/4 timing, right? Because it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. You keep that rhythm going constantly, right? So, but that's in a particular genre. Now, if you switch that genre to, say, hip hop or pop or into jazz or fusion, okay, do that kind of a beat in 4/4 time in those kind of genres, the rhythms completely change. Everything changes, right? So it's kind of like, okay, what can I do here? So, you know, in the blues genre, okay, blues 1, blues 2 genres, they're very common for 4/4 time signatures, among others, but 4/4 is a very common one and very easy to follow with, well, pretty much any beat, right? So, but there are changes. It could be, you know, and it's still 4 beats to a measure. As long as you got 4 beats to a measure, you're in 4/4 time, okay? Then you got 5/8 time, then you got 6/8 time, then you got 2/4 time, and 3/4 time. 3/4 is kind of like, I want to have a nap now. You know, very common in old church hymns too, okay? You're definitely going to come across 3/4 time quite a bit in those. And the faster the beat in the 3/4 timing, it can be a little bit more exciting. And it kind of feels more like a 4/4 beat than it does a 3/4 when you get the speed up. But the speed is the beats per minute, and you have X amount of beats that you have to accomplish in each minute of that song. So if a song is in 119 BPM, that means you have every minute you must be playing 119 beats for each minute of that song, okay? So regardless of the strumming pattern being used, that's what you get. Like I said, a lot of stuff in theory is not written in stone, but some stuff actually is. Time signature, that is written in stone. Beats per minute, that is written in stone. There is no screwing with those other than if you do play something a little slower or a little faster, you will throw off people, okay? Because they may not be able to keep up properly. Some instruments may not. You know, like I have been slowed down on a song that should be played at, say, 126, and I've been sucked back to like 90, 92 beats a minute on the song, and it's like, I can't strum that song in 4/4 timing. It's too bloody slow, and it's just like, and I can't get my chord changed up. Like, please, let's kick it up a notch, people. Let's get it more close to where it's supposed to be. You know, a little bit of a slowdown or a little bit of a speed up is never harmful. But when it becomes a major slowdown or major speed up, that is definitely going to be harmful to other players in the group, okay? And same as when you're learning songs on your own. Learn them at the correct speed, and then at least you've got that edge, right? And then once you learn them at that correct speed for that song from that artist, now try and manipulate it and see how much you can still make the song sound really good, but with a slower or maybe even a slightly faster tempo. But if you change your tempo faster, you might want to consider dropping away from basic chords more into power chords, okay? And learn how to do your double picking stuff, which I have a video on. Okay? So, anyway, that's pretty much what I got for you on this one. Download a bunch of charts, have a lot of fun. Don't get too freaked out over stuff that may not be the same on each one. These are things that are drawn from whatever people have decided that this works, and maybe parts of actual music theory say this works for this, but it also works for this, and this also works for this. So why? And like, can't we just have a standard? In the key of G, you got this. Key of A, you got this. B minor, you got this. It would be nice to have a standard, but unfortunately standards don't really exist as 100% law because of songs and words dictating chords. You have to pull chords from other keys quite often, more often than you might think. You will find chords in songs that don't belong in that key, but they have to be there in order for the song to actually work. Okay, now sometimes you can take like a Christmas song, which I hate them. I love listening to them, but I hate playing them because every freaking word is a chord, and that drives a guitar player over the edge like nobody's business. But if you can get the rest of your team that you're involved with to get along with you, you can drop out a pile of those chords and still keep the same song, but you're just removing a pile of chords that are really unnecessary. So why they're even in there to begin with, nobody knows. But you can still do a wonderful job with that same song and not have to worry about, 15 words and 15 different freaking chords, or flicking between them like 3 different chords and 15 words. It's just like, you know what I mean? So rewrite some of your own stuff to make it more playable for you too. I even have a book on the easiest guitar songs ever, right, for Christmas songs. I'm looking through this thing, I'm like, okay, that one might work. No way. That absolutely out of the question. Okay, but then we find a few that, yeah, okay. So then I'll sit there and I'll say, okay, well, for the ones that I really went like, no way, I'll just figure out what chords I can wipe out. And that takes some practice to learn how to do that, because you don't want to wipe out the wrong chords. Remember, your vocals still have to match with the song and the timing and everything. So, but you can actually pull a lot of those chords out of the way and, make it a more playable, easier song. But guitar players, they hate the F chord, which is always this barred F, apparently. Don't bother learning that one right away. Learn this F, it's so much easier. And besides, listen. It's just a bit of a shift. But you know what? I always get away with this F in every song, because I don't want to use that F. I don't like it. Nobody really does, right? I don't mind playing it on an electric guitar, but acoustic guitar, bar chords are a lot harder to do competently than it is on electric. Electric, it's a walk in the park. And thinner strings, by the way, on your acoustic are not going to help you out unless you are willing to also modify your guitar to lower that action way down. Because the skinnier the string you go to on your acoustic, the more distance you create between the top of the fret wire and the bottom of the string. With a skinnier string, you create more distance, and that means you got to push down even harder realistically, okay? It's not going to make it easier for you. It's going to make it more difficult. Fatter strings would actually make it easier, okay? But then you get along with that a pile of tuning stability issues, among other problems that are going to happen. So you got to kind of pick and choose your battles on that, okay? So, but we're out of here, so thanks for watching, and stay tuned for lesson 10. See ya.